All right. Well, a big topic here to talk about. Lakeville leaders drawing a bit of a line in the sand, at least a temporary line in the sand. No more new home construction, at least for now. Last night, the City Council unanimously approving a pause on new construction of homes. And so right now, Lakeville Mayor Luke Hellier joining us to discuss this. Appreciate taking the time here today. And let's start here with sort of the background on what led to this vote last night. A lot of this is in response, kind of a wait and see to efforts at the legislature, where there's been a push last year and again this session to create more affordable housing in higher density. So explain how that plays into the actions in Lakeville.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me on. But you're exactly correct. So the legislature the last 3-4 years has taken some efforts to try to, in their minds, create more options for housing. And cities in general across the state have kind of stuck together to say, hey, we think that there's some better solutions than what is coming out of St. Paul, for instance. And so that's kind of where we've been. This year's legislature came down with they call it a slimmed down version. Probably still has a half a dozen things that I think are probably detrimental, certainly to Lakeville and how we grow. I don't want to speak for other cities. Lakeville is unique, where we've had pretty tremendous growth in the last 4 years. In fact, we've added 7,200 people since 2020, and that's more than the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul combined. So we've seen tremendous growth. We still have a lot of land left to go, and we've had a lot of strain on our infrastructure and our schools at the same time. So really the moratorium pause is two things. One is to help put ourselves on the right path to respond to what's happening in the legislature, and the other is a little bit of a breather to catch up. We did something similar in the early 90s, where we had actually a 2-year moratorium on housing construction, and it allowed the city to kind of keep pace with what was going on.
Yeah, that can put a lot of strain on the city, certainly. And we'll get to that in a moment. First, the legislative changes potentially could include forcing cities to change zoning to allow more higher density. I mean, do cities, like mayors, city councils, administrators, is that seen as potentially an overreach, or how do you interpret that when you hear things like that?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think one of the provisions in there is it would require cities to take about 1/3 of all their commercial land and rezone it as residential, high density residential. And we still have several hundred acres of both land zoned for high density residential and commercial. And what the value for commercial land for a city is more so for the local school districts in particular, because they're going to pay a school district a property tax, they're going to pay a city property tax, but there's no one living in the commercial district, so no one's going to the school. So it's a little bit of a bonus, which is why we've had some really good success in our industrial park, which we're very pleased about. We've had over 1 million square feet of new warehouse we've approved this year, which is a really important thing to help diversify the tax base in the city. So some cities don't really have that opportunity to still build high density, and we do. And so I think a lot of our pushback is to say the land already exists. We don't need to be turning over our commercial land to build residential there instead. We want to have as diverse of a tax base as possible, and we're lucky that we have 38 square miles of the city. And so we want to make sure that as we continue to develop, there are a lot of different types of entities paying property tax to ease the burden on the residents that do live here.
Now, during this pause, there is still construction that is going on.
Right.
There's still lots that have been approved for construction and some commercial construction as well, right?
Right. I think I need to set the expectation for people. You'll still see construction happening in the city for sure. There's about 1,300 lots that have been approved already that exist on plat maps that are still available for construction. What this moratorium does is any new project on raw land, we'll call it, is part of that moratorium. So there will still be a lot of construction that happens. It'll just come at a little bit of a slower pace to give us time to have a breather over the next year as we meet with our Planning Commission and our Economic Development Commission to really look at our map to see where we need to make some changes, if there are changes in the legislature, to react to still kind of protect how we do our zoning.
Yeah, it gives you a little kind of a breather time to be able to configure what may come out of the legislature with what you want to do. But there are advocates for housing that have been very critical of this step in Lakeville and other cities. Senator Lindsay Port of Burnsville calling what happened last night a petty stunt. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, look, I think what's important is over the last 10 days or so, I've had a lot of conversations offline with legislators, both our legislative delegation who's supportive of the idea of keeping local control. But then also I spent some time talking to Representative Igo. Representative Igo is from Grand Rapids. He's the House Republican author of this legislative bill. We had a really good conversation on Friday, have a really good open dialogue. I think that there's probably 4 or 5 items in his bill that cities could either be neutral on or probably go along with. And part of it is there are things that Lakeville already did. A year ago after the legislative session, I sat down with 18 different building companies in my city for over 2 hours to find out, hey, how can we do things from a permitting, fees, or regulatory standpoint to help encourage some more affordable or attainable housing. And so we took a lot of those recommendations and have implemented them already, which we're totally fine with. So again, I think at the end of the day, I think the legislature intent is they want to try to spur growth. It just has an unintended consequence on a city like Lakeville where we're having so much growth already. And we would never be able to keep up with the pace where they want to have 8 units built on a single family lot, which is just, there's just no way the infrastructure could keep up.
Yeah, and as you mentioned infrastructure, and lastly, I just want to talk about how it touches on the concerns over expanding utilities, sewer lines, water lines, electrical, et cetera, and the impact on the schools. Those are those concerns that take a role here too in trying to plot this out.
They absolutely are, and it's part of the reason we've had to speed up conversations about expanding our water treatment plant. We're going to be several million gallons short per day of treated water over the next couple of years, and so we have to build for peak demand. So we've got to think about having the water treated for July, for instance. So we're looking at a $20 to $30 million expansion of our water treatment facility that goes on the property taxes. We're not getting money from the state. We're not getting money from the county. That's paid for by people who live and do work in Lakeville. And that's a pretty significant cost. And so that's just one of the overall increases we've seen in what has happened with the growth. Growth is a good thing. As they say in business, you'd rather be growing than not at all, right? And so that's okay. Growth is fine, but we just got to have the ability to manage the growth that we do have.
Yeah, you want to make sure that as that growth goes, you can handle it, whether it's from a utility school standpoint, if the zoning works for the land that you have.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Thank you so much. We'll be keeping an eye on what happens at the legislature and you and other cities in your position, what you do over the next during this moratorium for you as well. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks.
All right, there you go. The mayor of Lakeville talking about a construction housing moratorium